Hello everyone and welcome back to the Blackfoot Book Club for another of my essential film reviews collection. I Don't Want to Go Home. Reputedly costing under £500,000 to make, with improvised dialogue from non-actors in impromptu scenes, and special effects that were entirely devised and created in the bedroom of the director, Monsters is the archetypal low-budget film made good. As well as directing this low-budget masterpiece, Gareth Edwards also wrote the screenplay, acted as his own director of photography, production designer and visual effects supervisor, and in the process created a gem of a film. Dark and subliminal, yet in spite of its imposing title, Monsters is in the main a surprisingly quiet and reflective film that plays against both its simple title and the monster movie genre, being more of a science fiction thriller than a horrifying monster film. Despite the film's title, Monsters is not ostensibly a film actually about monsters, and aside from two particular scenes in near pitch black darkness, it's also not an especially scary or horrifying film, but this is not to decry or criticise the film in any way. Twisting a rather bad analogy, the monsters themselves, or the creatures as they are more commonly known, are rather like the world's most unruly children, heard rather than seen, as they wreak their devastation on a monumental scale from city to city in the infected zone, which splits the border between the United States of America and Mexico. Monsters is rather a film of the shocking aftermath following a huge catastrophe, and this is alluded to in the film's opening prologue, as it details a NASA mission 6 years ago that went awry, scattering alien samples across a vast swathe of the USA-Mexico landmass. Cleverly, director Edwards uses their haunting sounds, cries of anguish and calls for their fellow aliens, as well as using constant TV news coverage of the creatures to reinforce the threat posed, rather than out-and-out full-blown shots of the aliens, which when seen are reminiscent of the Martians of War of the Worlds, but always just out of real and crystal clear focus. The unseen danger though is ever present, but again cleverly the film's real focus is on the overt military presence and response to the emergency situation, with border checkpoints and soldiers on every street, tanks and armaments on standby to deal with the ongoing threat, as well as fighter jets making regular sorties across the sky. Monsters is an after-the-event film and a tale of life continuing as normal amid the utter devastation wrought by this unseen and seemingly uncontrollable force, and rather than a cliched monster movie, it is in fact an ode to children and family, of familial life continuing and adapting to the worst possible scenarios surrounding your lifelong community, and furthermore, at its heart, Monsters is an accidental love story of two Americans caught on the wrong side of the quarantined border. Aside from a belligerent, opportunistic and rapacious ticket seller, the film wholly focuses on the trials and tribulations of Andrew Calder, Scoot McNairy, a photographer who reluctantly agrees to escort his employer's daughter, Samantha Wyndon, Whitney Abel, away from the infected zone to the coast and home to America. They are both awkward strangers and both have different reasons for returning home aside from the attacks from the unseen creatures, with Samantha originally desperate to return and see my fiancé and live happily ever after. But after being thrown together in a desperate situation and after a drunken night fueled by Mexican tequila, their dynamic changes as well as their well-intended plans for returning home. Scoot McNairy, who would follow Monsters with roles in Argo, 12 Years a Slave and Gone Girl, is excellent as the conflicted photographer Andrew. He's forever performing his day job of taking photographs and seeking the unique story that will pay well as the couple make their perilous way towards home, but equally he has to justify his role to a sceptical and tired Samantha, but ultimately it's her father who pays zero for happier stories and has to justify his action with, "I don't cause this, I document it." Whitney Able would follow her role in Monsters with roles in Straight A's and 2014's A Walk Among the Tombstones, and together with her real-life husband Scoot McNairy, carry the film's tight, tense and ultimate familial narrative very well. Monsters may not actually be a film about monsters, but it's so much more than that and far more than a simple cliched horror fest. It could be argued as a post-apocalyptic road movie, a character study of two desperate human beings seeking refuge from unseen forces and a safe passage home, an accidental love story even, or maybe a reflective take on human beings tackling nature, the universe, or even immigration. But more importantly, Monsters is an incredible debut feature film from Gareth Edwards, as he employs many obtuse and oblique camera angles that perfectly fit the fractured and unnerving narrative, as well as relying on Colin Gowdy's often frenetic editing and his sound department's excellent use of atmospheric creature sounds that are vital to a mostly unseen foe. Above all, Gareth has written, helmed, shot and produced a low-budget masterpiece that is visually and orally effective, and a film I'd highly recommend above and beyond even his visually stunning and heavily studio-financed follow-up. And that was Monsters from 2010, directed by Gareth Edwards. Gareth's follow-up, his heavily studio-financed follow-up, was Godzilla in 2014. And this is Steve Blackford in 2023, reading and writing pointless but spoiler-free film reviews since 2012. I thank you for watching, and I'll leave you in peace and in solidarity. And I thank you sincerely once again for watching. Please be careful out there, everyone. Peace.